Hey boys and girls, it's Nightstalker here. Welcome along today to the Men-at-Arms Guide. Check it out. This beautiful unit we've got behind us who have the most amazing weapons in the world. Look at those swords and shields. They're just absolutely great. Longsword and shield on a mini scale. So why am I doing a guide on this particular unit? The reason I'm doing a guide on this unit is because, well, simply everybody should have this unit at some point if you're going towards the Paladin line. And Paladins are an extremely strong unit that everybody should have. They're just fantastic. I can't recommend them enough. Very much one of the high tier units without being OP. All right. Some people might think they're a little OP, but it's just very strong. They have some counters and they can be defeated, which in my opinion doesn't make them OP. So without further ado, let's get in and talk about the Men-at-Arms. First thing of all, let's switch on over to look at their Doctrines and Veterancy lines. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is what sort of doctrines you can put on this unit. As you can see, my unit is elite, and as you can see, my doctrines on them are not particularly special. That is mostly because my Paladins have all the good doctrines. I got Paladins, and then I leveled up Men-at-Arms all the way back to level 20 again. I'm crazy, I know, but you guys wanted a guide. So what I've got on them at the moment is slashing and damage and armor penetration, blunt damage and penetration, and also increase their block by 140, because that will work with the veterancy lines I've just got around the corner, and I'll show you in a minute. Again, feel free to put purple or good doctrines on this unit, because when you promote them to Paladins you can retain those and move them along. But because I already have Paladins and I just leveled up this unit for the sole reason of doing this guide, I haven't got very good ones on there. The reason, you're probably wondering, why have I got blunt damage on there? Blunt damage is part of their charge and their shield bash. Two things that this unit is actually pretty good at. Their charge and their shield bash are pretty decent abilities. So let's move across now to the veterancy line. Also, when you look at the stats that I produce, that will include these doctrines here as well. If you're wondering as well, the Siren's Sun armor here, you can get that in the My.Game store, or if you're on Frontier, press C. If you're on My Games, you'll need my code here at the bottom of the screen, and you can put that in, and you'll be able to obtain this unit for a few dollars. I don't actually know how much off the top of my head, plus I'd have to convert it to USD. But if you're interested, you can get this for, well, any of your units. It's not directly related to Men-at-Arms. Anyway, let's stop talking. First of all, this is the veterancy line that I run mostly. The reason for that is the block status is maintained while attacking. Now, Paladins have this innately, and it's good to get in the practice of using this with Men-at-Arms to move through to the Paladins. They're essentially a practice unit for Paladins. And I use these bottom lines because, well, we got a shield formation. So when I first came in, the first thing I did, this was the first one, then I got these, and then I worked all the way along the top line. So using this one, here's the stats that you will end up getting for this. You'll get slashing penetration, you'll get increased blocking, you'll get increased slashing damage, you'll get increased critical value, you'll get increased penetration, and you'll get the shield bash passive. On the middle line, you'll get your block status is maintained while attacking, and on the bottom line, you'll get slashing defense and the shield formation. Now, in my opinion, this is the best setup for Men-at-Arms, but I'll also show you the next one. Quick flick over now, and this is what I'd recommend for the middle line. What you get for the middle line is blocking status is maintained while attacking. You'll get plus 120 blocking. You'll get plus 6 piercing damage. You'll get reduces bleed damage when the armor is pierced by 10%. You'll get an additional, reduces damage by 5% and increases the block by 80. So an additional 80 block is awesome. And that sort of relates to the Paladins as well, who have a massive amount of block and attack while they are blocking, which is the primary reason that Paladins are really good. You'll also get another 6 slashing defense. You'll get shield formation. You'll get increased damage while in shield formation by 10%, and you'll get 9% increased piercing defense. So this setup is all probably about making a anti-ranged shield that when people approach the shield wall, they'll attack them back. Now, this isn't terrible. I have tested this out in a few games, maybe 3, and I find that this is quite effective, but they tend to get lapped around. But if you're going to use them in combination with pikes or other units, this is really good to bolster your shield wall. Let's look at the bottom line. And the last veterancy line option you've got is, of course, the bottom one. So from the bottom one, you're going to get 3% hit points, you're going to get plus 6% slashing defense, you're going to get the shield formation, you're going to do plus 10% damage in shield formation, you're going to take 20% less range damage in shield formation, you're going to take 10% less damage from rear attacks, you're going to regenerate 250 hit points a second for 15 seconds. I believe the cooldown on this is 60 seconds off the top of my head, but that might not sound a lot, but it's 3,750 hit points, and as you can see on the stats on the right there, that's more than a third of the hit points of the unit. So very, very seriously a good actual healing one, that one. Not many are good like that, but that one is. They can't be stunned by normal attacks in shield formation. That's really not all that good, if I'm perfectly honest with you, because very rarely will heroes attack you with their normal left click attack. They will almost always try and come around you or CC you and things like that. So this is actually not that good. You may even wish to skip the last one on the line and you put it into something else. And of course, you're going to get part of the midline as well, where your blocking status is maintained while attacking. That's a critical skill. You must have that one for this unit, trust me. And you're going to get the 120% block. So right now, I've showed you all three viable lines, and all three are viable. I prefer the first one, or the top line set up with a bit of 2 and 3. And I'll take you into the training room now and show you how these work. Let's go across. So here we go in the training room. Let's have a look at the formations that this unit has. Here we go. The first one of all we're going to talk about is the F3 formation, because it is actually one of their more useful ones. What we've got here is we've got a nice big broad shield plate which will stop arrows and all sorts of pokey things getting stuck into your knights, or your men-at-arms. And as you can see, they fight okay in this formation, especially if you've got the shield bash ability. But really what you want to be doing when you're using this formation is to move them into the unit and hit V and micro them. Then move the unit in again, then micro them. What this does is, because it's a very nice tight formation, they will mass up and then do a lot of instant damage before they start spreading out. And that's a very strong way to play this particular unit. Next one we're going to talk about is the F2 formation. The block, I guess you would call it. The block formation, I find, is very good for the charge. The reason for this is it covers a wider front and it tends to kill more things. Although if you're in a siege tower or something like that, as I will show you shortly, it's much better to use the F3 shield formation. And as you can see, this unit deals with lower tier units fairly effectively. Let's have a look at the open formation. This isn't a formation I would generally use with most units, but this is a not particularly strong unit, as you're probably starting to realise by now. There's something that you're going to use to get to Paladins. But when you're facing range like this, they take less damage. And when you're taking fire, look at them, they put up their shields to try and take less. And of course, they've got that innate trait that allows them to take less damage from the archers. And you can use it in this sort of state, when you're getting picked on by archers, and to rush in and take them out. One thing you can do is when they're charging, sometimes a few of your units will... Where are you going? Sometimes a few of your units will miss, and you don't want them charging off into the distance, so when that happens, you just press the V key. I'll just quickly show you a charge in the shielded formation. You'll notice that because, of course, they are in a very tight bunch, most of the hits when you hit the target unit will be in a very concentrated area. And this is really good for killing heroes, although they don't really do enough damage to reliably kill heroes on the charge. They'll kill most lighter units, especially if they don't have a shield. Watch this. Boom. And of course, once they hit, they go immediately into a slash. And again, if you're using the microing, the X and then V, you're then concentrating your attacks a lot. And you can leave them in the open formation just to tidy up a bit. Come on guys, tidy up a bit. That's lovely. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the Cover Commander, their number 2 ability. Now this is actually not too bad, and this is the best way to move them around if you don't yet have the F3 formation. This is the best way to move them around because they're nice and compact, right? But if you don't have that yet, the Cover Commander is really good. Now they're very aggressive, as you can see. That's one thing you've got to realise is that they're actually very aggressive while in this formation. So they will leave you and uncover you, if you like, and when you get a wee way away, they'll start to think about maybe coming back to you. But if they're engaged in combat, they generally won't escape by themselves. So you're going to have to issue them a command if you want them to come back. So that's something that's very important to remember. And they, as you can see, they don't do a huge amount of damage in this open sort of formation of cover commander. But you can drag them around and they'll generally follow you, which is, it's okay, right? It's not too bad. But really, once you get this formation here, this is how you want to move them around, like this, spamming your X key. By the way, there is a setting in your settings that will mean that when you double tap the X key very quickly, this is it up on screen now, a little arrow to it, it will allow you to do that more efficiently. And if you're going to use your ults and things like that as a bit of a combo, you'll see that they're actually very, very effective in chopping apart lesser units. So at this point, as I've already explained, they're not a very strong unit. So you're going to want to ask me, I guess, are men-at-arms a good unit? The answer for that is emphatically no. They are not a good unit. They are outdated. They're from, they came in I think season 2 or even season 1 probably. I think maybe season 1. I wasn't around for season 1 and I joined at the very end of season 2. But this unit hasn't had an update since then. They lack a lot of the things that the more up-to-date version of the game really has. And if you asked me, I would probably take Condottieri Guard instead of this unit because they have a shock attack. And again, that's a bit of CC and good stuff for your units and things like that. So overall, you've got to remember that men-at-arms are not a good unit, but they are the pathway to Paladins. So you're going to be stuck playing these for a little while. So it's best to get in the habit of doing things correctly. Now the good news for you is that Paladins play exactly like men-at-arms, except they're a lot better at it. So if you can get some of these techniques down that I'm teaching you today, you'll have everything you need to work with Paladins. As you can see, they work fine on unshielded units too. And as you'll see some of the gameplay clips later, they're very good at charging in the back. But again, most units are. So are they a good unit? No, they're okay. They're not a good unit. They do good work, but not for the leadership you end up paying for them. And that's really what this is about. Okay, so we're spawned in our men-at-arms, and we're going to try and push up to the A point with the rest of our team. Now what I want to demonstrate in this little clip is both how much damage the unit can put out when you're using the nice tight formation, but at the same time how vulnerable they can be. So the first thing you're probably noticing is you're like, what is that giant thing you're holding in your hand, knight? Well, that's a musket and not a longsword. So watch the space. I've had a lot of requests to show you other weapons, so we'll try doing this. Just watch the next video. So berserkers in the front of a shielded unit is not particularly dangerous to them. However, it is particularly dangerous to heroes who want to stand in front of a charge, because that is a ton of blunt damage, right? And you'll notice that in that charge they did a bit of damage and then we've pulled them back. Now if you've watched any of my videos including Paladins, that's generally how you're going to use Paladins continuously, right? And you're not going to charge into the front of pikes and things like we've got in front of us here, so we really have to whittle down those units before we can start really doing some damage, or indeed pushing up through to A. So we're looking for the opportunity. We've got some friendly nasties in the front there who are going to do some damage for us. What we're going to do is, when they clear up, we're going to bring them through. One thing about men-at-arms I've noticed is they're not durable in the same way as Paladins, or even other durable units like Palace Guard. They tend to take more damage, and I can't explain why that is. But here we go, berserkers in the front of a shield wall is not going to hurt you too much, and you can charge in even on raging berserkers and not take too much. You'll see the part of the unit that overshot there in front of us, that's the part of the unit that died. But we did actually beat the berserkers with our team's help. However, at this point we've lost literally half the unit, and that's because our unit overcharged. Alright, I made a mistake there and I should have hit V once our unit made contact with the enemy. But we've still got half a unit, so we'll push into these guys and use that tactic of XV. So micro them, push them in the shield formation, bunch them up and hit the V key. And then they're going to concentrate all their damage. Now we're going to try and play shield wall, which is not always going to be very good, and you're going to find out why. Have a look what happens when they actually start taking some CC, some crowd control, some knockdowns and things like that. You'll notice that very quickly they run out of steam and run out of hit points because they're actually not a super tough unit. They don't have the armor values really to sustain themselves in combat in the same way that heavily armored users do, like, I don't know, Imperial Spearguard, Paladins, Shield Maidens, that sort of thing. They just don't have that survivability, even when you take into account that they're a tier 4 unit. Let's go to another clip. Okay, so this is the last clip I want to show you today. As you can see from the clips I've shown you, they're actually not a strong unit, and I struggle with them, I really do. So you're going to probably have the same challenges, and I don't blame you for that, and you shouldn't blame yourself either. They're just not a strong unit, as I've explained several times. So anyway, at this stage I've realised that we're actually being back charged. So people have come out of the tunnels and things like that. But fortunately, this is something that men-at-arms are very good at. We find ourselves a nice unit of Paladins, Stalwarts. And we're going to charge in after slowing them. And see how I hit the V as soon as they touch? And that means that the rest of the unit doesn't overrun. The Stalwarts immediately turn around and start attacking us. But we've got support here and we've got heroes. And one of the good things about the men-at-arms, as we've explained, is that they actually have the active block while attacking. So even something like Stalwarts does take a while to get through to them, through their block and things, because they're rather static. So that's something that can be quite good. So we come back here and we're thinking, oh, we might be able to heal them. Let our team know that we're being overrun at the back, because we can't heal them. And we're going to try and block in here, well, at the A point. I think we're going to get charged by the iron caps, so I put down the spiky spikes, not to be. We move them on, and of course they're going to be fine from the iron caps, but things like berserkers, and again, this just demonstrates how quickly they can be overwhelmed. You know, they weren't even really flanked, they came from the front side, and they just get obliterated. So you just got to be very careful of that. Stick with your team. You know, you don't have the ability of most tier 4 units, you know, most meta tier 4 units, to put yourself out there in front and really hold the line. And I think that's really where the men-at-arms fall down and fail. They just don't have that staying power in the same way that, say, Paladins or Berserkers or Stalwarts do. They just can't achieve those same levels. So if you're not succeeding with the men-at-arms, don't worry too much. It's not you, it's them. I wish you luck playing this unit. And we'll just go now to the outro. So, and that's all I've got for you today on the men-at-arms. Hopefully they helps you to understand the limitations particularly, because again, they're not a strong unit, but you've got to push through them to get the Paladins. So hopefully it helps you understand their limitations and what they're good at. You know, use them as a nice flanker, use them as a shield wall in front of your pikes, and when you see the opportunity, you can charge in. Hopefully you've learned something new, or you just enjoyed the video. Thanks for coming to my channel.